How's everyone doing this evening? Happy to be here. First time. I'm used to, being at O'Neill's usually, so it's great to see everyone again. I am State Senator Harold Pope Jr. I am not the body double for Lawrence Fishburne. I get confused for that a lot. But I do remain rent-free in the minds of Senate Republicans in the Roundhouse because they love to talk about me. So it means I'm doing the right thing. So I serve as Vice Chair of Senate Education and serve on Senate Conservation. And I'm also honored to be running to be your next Lieutenant Governor here in New Mexico. So, but I think it's important you learn a little bit about me and my values and where I come from. And so I'm the oldest of 5 kids. I was born and raised in Pueblo, Colorado, up north. So I tease all the Norteños. I say I'm a little further north than even y'all. So, give me a little more respect. I just tease them. But I'm the oldest of 5 kids, but by the time I hit middle school, I started to have some struggles. Many of the struggles that many of our kids and our families here in Albuquerque, New Mexico are dealing with. My parents got divorced. My mother was a waitress and a bartender. And so we dealt with a lot of issues like food insecurity, sometimes having to go on food stamps before it was SNAP, dealing with access to health care. I had a brother who was a juvenile diabetic by the time he was in 5th grade. And so I had to step up, but I struggled with that. And while I was in school, I wasn't doing well, and I was like a lot of young folks saying, what am I going to do with algebra? What am I going to do with geometry? Why does this matter in my life? But I also didn't see people that looked like me in careers who were successful. It looked like a dream to me, something on TV or a movie. And so I kept struggling and went to high school, got ineligible for sports, and just got off the wrong track. And I remember to this day a conversation I had with my high school counselor, and it was different than many of the other conversations that my friends had. They were talking about ACTs and SATs and getting ready for college, and my counselor told me, we're just trying to get you out of high school and a diploma. And so that stayed with me for a while because I thought, college isn't for me. I'm not going to be able to achieve. And I did end up graduating high school. Then I took a job in a call center, which is ironic because I hate doing call time as an elected official, having to call you guys for money, having to call you guys to sign my petition. By the way, I got a petition out there. I need some help to get on the ballot, so please sign that. My partner here, Estella, if you guys can help me out with that, or go to haroldpope.com. You could do it there online. But I struggled. And so graduated, got to have that job, and just kind of messed around. Started hanging around the wrong crowd, and I ended up getting in some trouble. And it was something that I didn't do. It was something just being at the wrong place at the wrong time. And that's when I made a decision that I needed to change my life. And really how that happened was there were some members of my family that married in who were in the Army. They were stationed at Fort Carson, the Army in Colorado Springs, and they said, you need to go in the military. It was the last thing that I wanted to do. But it ended up being the best thing. Not because it was a military, but because I got some structure. I had people who invested in me, who mentored me. And I excelled in tech school. I actually became a dental assistant in the Air Force. And then I started going to night school, taking classes. And that's what led me and brought me here to Albuquerque, where my dad was working at UNM. Ended up getting a degree doing Air Force ROTC. Got a biochemistry degree. And then I served in the Air Force as a chemist and as a project manager on satellite programs. I did a little bit of time in the Middle East. When I retired in 2018, I also took a job with Mayor Keller, an advisor, for 6 months, and then I decided, hey, I'm going to run for state senate on the west side. I'm going to go ahead and flip a Republican seat. And with the help with many folks like you, we were able to do that in 2020. And not only that, make history with me becoming the first ever African-American state senator ever elected in New Mexico. And so that's where I come from. And what I like to do is make sure folks who don't know me, ask about me. Do your research. Go look at the webcast. Come to the Roundhouse and see what I'm about. Go on NM Legis, see the bills that I propose. And understand that how I operate, it's all about people first. I'm running for a lieutenant governor because this is really about our seniors in our state that are struggling, many on a fixed income, and are wondering, How are they going to deal with what's going on with inflation, these tariffs and utilities, and they're just not getting a break? It's about our working families and that life that I lived and just understanding and the struggles and with what's going on in Washington and what can we do as a state to help them. It's about our veterans who've given their all in so many cases, but Washington decides that they don't want to honor that contract. And what do we do as a state to step up to help them? You know, this race is about north, south, east, west, rural, urban, indigenous, and a transplant like myself, even though my family originally comes from here. We cannot leave anyone behind. And so when it comes to, you know, and this is the reason why I brought up my story, because I know about food insecurity. I know about poverty. I know about people struggling with, like my brother and my mom who had a stroke, with access to health care. And we're having a lot of discussions on how we move forward. And we have to deal with the reality that these are complex issues. And these are things that I recognize. But at the end of the day, it's about putting people first, but it's also about working together. And my promise to you is, and the reason why I want to be Lieutenant Governor, is I want to be that voice. And not my voice, I want to be your voice. You know, the only negative I get from people a lot of times about me running for Lieutenant Governor is, we need you in the Senate. We want you to continue doing what you're doing, and we want you to be majority leader. But here's the thing. I think you also want that voice on the fourth floor. You want that voice that's there full time when the governor is making those decisions every day. And that's no matter who the governor is, okay? I have my favorite, but the reality is I have to be neutral because we have to see who gets there. But you know, from what I do in the Senate, that they're going to hear what is right. They're going to hear from you, and I'm going to always make the case on why we should be going in a certain direction or why we shouldn't. And so I would just ask again to, you know, look into me. I need your support to make this happen. And look, I'm not risking my Senate seat running for this, but I want this job. I don't want this to be an excuse to say, oh, he's good, just keep him in the Senate. We need that voice on the fourth floor. And I'll end it here and say, we're dealing with so many issues in DC and in Washington. I'm in that fight. I've been in that fight at the state level with y'all when it comes to produce water, hydrogen, when we deal with these utilities. When we deal, you know, I'm going to be a little late. I'll be there Tuesday. I was there last Tuesday in the streets. I've always been out there marching. And I will continue to do that. But I don't want to just fight. I want to fight with you. And I think that's the big difference, okay? So I'm just going to leave it there and say thank you for giving me this opportunity. I never ever thought, just that story that I'm telling you, that I'd even be in this position. But when you get into a place like this, and it took me a while to find my voice, and that first year in the Senate, you're kind of quiet. You're like, what do I do? You know, these Republicans are talking crazy, right? Like, but now I'm settled into who I am, and I found my voice. And I just ask at the end of the day, hear what I have to say. And I think if you hear that and see what I'm about, I'm sure that I'll earn your support. Thank you.
Senator, I know you've got to run, but I just have a quick question for you. Tonight's our legislative preview, and we're trying to get, we don't have a lot of information, but wondering if you have any bills you want to tell us about.
So a few of the bills that I can talk about that I know that are already germane, trying to do a bill to the school tax holiday on the computers, books, school supplies that we have kind of in August, trying to move that back to July, late July, because school starts earlier. I also have a bill that I'm reintroducing that says anyone making $40,000 or less would pay no income tax on their personal income tax in the state, try to alleviate some of those issues. We are going to bring back the Green Amendment. We see what's going on in our state already with issues, even like Project Jupiter and these data centers, but especially nationally. And then I have some other bills that we're trying to get on the agenda with the governor, but we'll see. But those are the bills that are really germane that I have.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Estella, do you want to stand up in case people want to sign Senator Pope's petition? Be sure you see Estella. Thank you, Senator Pope.
I have a few, little bit of swag outside, some magnets and stickers if you guys would like those as well. Thank you.
Senator Pope is a true advocate for a lot of the causes we fight for, and he'll often carry bills that we ask for, and almost always votes the right way. So, good guy. I am going to miss him in the Senate. All right. Let's see. Who? I don't think let's see. You guys have slides. Do you guys want to go first? Okay, and then Willie and I will fill in the rest. All right. Tig, we can get back to the slides. There's 2 mics. You can each talk. Ooh.
Is it okay if we sit? Yeah. Okay, so the water stuff gets a little complicated, so I thought that I'd kind of break it down here and let you know the 4 areas that we're following very closely, and then there's a couple of others that we probably will start with. And so that's the Water Quality Control Commission and the produced water specifically, the BCP New Mexico Gas Company buyout, and we still need to do some work on that. The Blackstone is something that's coming up. That's going to be a huge task. We want to first, it's going to be essential that we are successful with the BCP in order to have any success with the Blackstone. And then the last part is the Project Jupiter. And right now there's an air quality permit that they're requesting, and we'll bring you up to date on that. Next slide, please.
Okay, so we're talking about NMOGA, and I think this meeting was on water, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So water's a big deal right now. The current regulation is favorable to the people. However, the governor seems to want to go in a different direction. We really need everyone to stand up when we see this topic coming up again on WQCC, because Water Quality Control Commission, and it looks to me like we're going to be able to, if we get enough people showing up at these meetings, we should be able to hold on to the current regulation. The current regulation treats every produced water event as something that will be reviewed by the WQCC and given approval. What the governor would like to see is a blanket rule that would allow the use of produced water on multiple events, and particularly for agriculture and or for just dumping on the ground, and that's not what we want. This is a dangerous material, and we can't allow this thing to get out of control of the WQCC.
Oh, okay. To add to that, so what happened was we had a big win last May, and then in July, the Water Quality Control Commission decided they were going to hear a new petition from a NMOGA alliance. NMOGA is a New Mexico Oil and Gas Association. Yeah, thank you. And it was worse. It was about produced water, and they were going to allow produced water and all kinds of things off the oil field, and basically treat it like municipal waste. It was they weren't going to treat it said they were going to treat it, but there was no standard to which they were going to treat it. So anyway, we won in May, and then it got revisited in July, and they said, oh yeah, let's take a look at this and let's make the rule even worse than what we had originally wanted it to be. And so it was all of you that got together. There were, I don't know, 11 or 12 of you that got up and spoke so passionately at this meeting, and we really thought that the fix was in. We thought that that they were going to go ahead and they were going to have this hearing, and it was going to be in Jal, and it was going to be long, drawn out, protracted, and we were going to lose because they had mounted this, well, basically there had been this collusion among the commissioners at the secretary level, that they spoke with each other. They sent emails back and forth, which is a big no-no. That's behind closed doors. They were talking about how they were going to get this new rule across the line. And so that was brought out. We found that in a, what is it, the Freedom of Information Act. And so they found those emails. We had a big spread about it. A lot of you went up and protested in front of Secretary Kinney's office. They stayed inside. They hid from us. But anyway, then in November we went up there and people spoke passionately, and they kept trying to shut us down, and you all just wouldn't let them. And we've got, I want to do one shout out for Chris Jones. So he's given his statement, and he's going seconds over, and the security's trying to get rid of him, and he's got his text in front of him, and he's got his hand out like this, "You stay back." And he finishes his statement, and everybody did that. And they tried to kick us out. They tried to shut us down, and you all just wouldn't let them. And I was like, I love being with y'all. So that's what was happening here. But what we expect is that NMOGA is going to, they've reopened an appeal that they had from before. So they've reopened that, but they did not get it in time, and they did not go through the process of notifying the proper people. So whether or not the appeals court is going to allow that to go through, we'll see. But in the meantime, we know that the governor, we are going to be looking out for the governor trying to insert funding for produced water in some of the bills around the strategic water supply plan that she has. So we are going to have to be vigilant about that, and there will be notices that will go out, and I'm hoping that if there's a slide, I think that it has got the, oh well, anyway, if you want to be part of that, let me know.
Just a quick question. How many people were at the WQCC meetings that were attended? Can you show of hands? Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, you guys were, we're set now. You guys were just fabulous. Okay, then the next slide. This is, all right, so the Bernhard Capital Partners. This is a tough one, and this is a necessary win for us, and we are not winning right now. So the hearing wrapped up. It did not go well for us. They disallowed our expert testimony. They wouldn't let our lawyers peek under the hood and see what was really going on with this private equity company. So basically it's a black box that the hearing examiner wouldn't let us kind of pry open the lid and take a look at. Okay, so you want to take that?
Okay, the PRC is the Public Regulation Committee, or Commission. And what they do is at one point in time, we all had a vote to select the members of that commission. However, the people of New Mexico thought it's better that the governor pick those people. We went from 5 commissioners down to 3, and all 3 of those commissioners were picked by the governor. That explains why we're losing on this issue. So, back to Sandy.
Oh, and then Bernhard Capital Partners, is that? Oh, the hearing officer. So the hearing examiner is the one who kind of is almost like the judge between the sides, the lawyers for the Bernhard Capital Partners and our lawyers who are trying to ask questions of each other, and they kind of are the ones who preside over that. And then they take all of the testimony and they make the decision. They make a decision in terms of whether they let the PRC know, yeah, this is a good deal, or no, this is not a good deal. Now, the PRC, the Public Relations Commission, does not have to listen to them, but it is, usually they do. So it's a very important process or position that the hearing examiner holds and can really sway the decision one way or another. So we have got right now, the decision is in the hands of the hearing examiner. And she will probably make her decision around the end of this month. And then it will go to the commission and they will deliberate and they will decide probably by the end of February. So that means that we still have got time to make public comment, and we should. Every other week, there is an open meeting that we can go and do public comment. And what we'd like to do is kind of shed light on the things that the hearing examiner wouldn't allow our lawyers to question. So we want to put that in front of the PRC, so that's part of the record, that they have to hear that. And they've been very good. We've been going up to Santa Fe, but they now have an office here, and we'll be able to go back and forth. There had been one at the end of October.
No, go for it. I was just going to say, what's the next meeting coming up?
Oh, the next meeting is on the 15th of January, and it is here in town. So we'll be organizing around that. But in October, we had 39 people that gave comment at one of the open meetings, and there were 12 of us from Indivisible Albuquerque that got up and gave really persuasive comments. So yay.
Once more, show of hands. How many people made the PRC meeting?
Woo!
Yeah.
Yay!
Okay, so just 1 second. This is the problem. We need to have a complete 100% type turnout at this meeting if we're going to impress these people that the people are not being heard. So I'm hoping that everybody tonight is writing this 15th of February down and planning on making this meeting. January, January, and planning on making this meeting because it's a big deal. We cannot allow private equity to take over BCP to take over NM Gas.
I don't, it'll be in the newsletter. I don't have any of that information, but hopefully I added later. I don't know if you're, okay. So I added a QR code for people who wanted to become part of the Water Warriors. But if you want to become part of the Water Warriors and get the information on that stuff, send a link or send an email to IABQ and they'll pass it on to me and we'll get you on the list. The other thing that I wanted to say, let me see, it went somewhere. So Leandra's Schuler's husband, he gave testimony, and it was really jarring. It was incredible, the amount of information that you all have and the perspective that you bring. And what he said is that this company, BCP, owned a water utility, and it raised the rates so high that people couldn't afford to pay them. They took out loans, liens against their homes, and they wound up losing their homes to pay for their water bills. This is a real problem. I mean, utility bills, water and electricity are going to go through the roof. People are going to be in dire straits, and people will lose their homes. It will be a real financial burden for many people, and that's what we're trying to avoid.
And we shouldn't forget the fact that the New Orleans Water Department had a real problem with contamination. They had human feces in the water after BCP took over the management of that system.
But they're not letting any of that information. The hearing examiner's not allowing any of that information to get through to the PRC. So that's on us. Next slide, please. Oh, okay.
Go for it, Cindy.
Okay, so Blackstone. This is going to be a big lift, and it's going to take every single one of us to do. Blackstone is the biggest private equity company in the world. They're powerful. They're one of the reasons why housing is so expensive, because they bought up a bunch of housing, and it's sitting empty. And they're just letting it sit empty because they can raise the rates and get more money for their rents. So what's happening right now with this? We haven't gotten started yet. But what they're doing right now is the application has been submitted. So the interveners, and there are a ton of them, there's like 20 interveners. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Blackstone is trying to take over P&M. They want to buy it out. They have got a 23% premium of what the company is worth. So they're going to, and right now, you know, P&M is doing okay, but what they want to do is they want to buy it out, and they're going to pay the board members for 4 years $250,000 a year to attend 4 meetings. So in 4 years, those board members are going to make $1 million to go to 16 meetings. Like, this is crazy, but you know, those board members are probably going to vote to allow this to go through. So those are some of the numbers that we're looking at. So right now, the interveners are looking at the application. They are trying to understand what's going on, what's being asked. And some of these interveners are like Facebook. And what could happen is that Blackstone will go to Facebook and make a deal with them about their rates. But right now, Facebook is worried about the rates of their electricity. So it would behoove them to make a deal. They're not concerned about what we pay for our electricity. So that's one of the things that will happen. The other thing is that what these companies do is they buy this company and they say they're not going to raise rates, but then they say, oh, but we need to put in this infrastructure. And the infrastructure isn't for us. The infrastructure would be for Facebook or a new data center or some other industry that's coming in. And they're basically sliding those costs onto ratepayers. And that's one of the things that we're trying to avoid. That's one of the reasons why the rates go up so much. All right, so we're getting expert testimony and going through discovery, and we're developing strategies to fight this. That's what's going on.
Okay, so just a little bit more context on what Indivisible Albuquerque is doing. We have a C3, a not-for-profit arm, that is called the New Mexico Foundation for Civic Excellence. And those of you that worked on Avangrid will remember this. That C3 arm is accepting donations. It's been in the newsletter a couple times to fund a research report on the business practices of Blackstone. This research report will hopefully discover, we're hiring expert researchers to pull this report together to describe how Blackstone's investments as private equity firms in other public utilities has. We know it hasn't worked out. So this research report that we're working on is going to lay all that out, exactly how Blackstone. So think about what private equity is. Everybody understands that? Private equity firm? No? Sorta? So when you think about who owns what in corporate America, private equity firms, they're internally funded, they raise their own money, they're full of billionaires, and they like to go become bigger billionaires by buying small things and big things, influencing decisions by the boards of directors and shareholders, pay off shareholders, buy the companies outright, and then strip them of the assets that they have, selling those assets off at some kind of profit that's going to make them rich. But the people that are impacted by the company that they bought, usually the employees or the shareholders, they don't get much in return. They come in with giant promises. We're going to do this. We're going to improve the infrastructure. We're going to fix this problem. We're going to do this. And then that's exactly what they don't do. And if you think about Joanne Fabrics, I'm just trying to think of some that off the top of my head, that company went out of business because it was bought by private equity. They literally stripped all the assets out and left us with inoperable, like I can't even go buy my quilting fabric there anymore because they don't exist. So these companies, private equity is just it's a strip and go kind of model. And they make great big profits from it. And customers, and certainly in the case of public utilities, when you think about a public utility, Who pays for that? We pay our gas bill and electric bill and water bill. And when they strip the assets out and it doesn't work, what's going to happen to our rates? Whew. Skyrocketing. We will be in the position Sandy just described about not having to put a lien on our house to pay a water bill because the rates will be so high. These companies, private equity companies, BCP and Blackstone, that's not their business model. They don't buy public utilities. They don't know the first thing about running them. What do they want to do with them? They want to strip them of their assets so they can pay for these big data centers where they are going to make money. So this is something, and I'm just adding to your argument here, but the fact that we're going to be working on this research report, which is really important. We'll have a press conference sometime in January about it. And we'll be asking you to stand behind us as we do this press conference with our allied organizations about this very complex thing. It's a great complex, like, capitalistic model that most people know nothing about. But all this is going to do is hurt the people of New Mexico. So we're working hard to stand against this, and we need your support.
All right, so what's the alternative to being bought out by private equity? And the answer is this state has $68 billion sitting in its fund. We have a lot of money. So the answer to this problem that we have is to delve into this sovereign wealth fund and buy these entities out so that we own it as people. And there is an entity that's being run by Alicia, and it's called Public Power, and she has a website. You might want to go to that because this is the answer to this private equity problem that we have today.
So, you know, I think it's really important to what Ray Allen said is that what's connecting all of this is data centers that are coming in. The other thing that's happening with those data centers, and this gets to Project Jupiter, is it's a huge data center that's going in the desert where the water, they haven't had clean water. They've had so many problems with the water. They're going to be using more water because its data center is going to go in, and the power isn't there, so they're going to bring in gas-powered turbines. And these, what? Okay, so a lot of turbines, and the pollution, what they've done is they've split it into two. They're calling them microgrids, and they've split this application in two, and each of the applications for these turbines comes just under the limit of what is allowed. But in aggregate, it's almost twice as much as pollution as what is allowed by our ETA. But they're being allowed the Energy Transition Act. And so they need to, anyway, they have to have this application. We're watching this. This is one of the things that we're doing because this went through with lightning speed down in Doña Ana County because it's down in Santa Teresa. And the county commission, it was, I think, like 30 days, and they agreed to it. And it is $165 billion? $165 billion of our money, with $1 billion of our money that's going into this that we're on the hook for. And the county commission agreed to this. And so then, on top of this being all our money, then they're going to be putting in fossil fuel turbines, and they're going to be creating all kinds of emissions, pollution, that's going to affect everybody. So these are things that we want to slow it down, and because this has already gone through, and there's like all these NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, that we can't get these numbers, and they're, again, black boxes that these big companies are working behind, that we are going to try and slow it down with this water quality permit. And so what we're going to ask you to do is we're going to ask you to write in and say, hey, you know, I really want to hear about this. Let's have a public hearing that will last 30 days. And then, so we're going to ask you to write in and ask for that hearing. And then we're going to ask you again to go in and give testimony or comment or petitions, whatever it is, postcards, all of the things that we do. But that's going to be part of the strategy of slowing this down and maybe being able to make a difference in what's going on. So that's with Project Jupiter. I think, what else do
I don't know. All right, so one of the things that's going on is that we are the second state in the union for solar potential. Why in the world would we want to invest additional money in natural gas pollution? This is idiotic, for sure. The other thing is, you don't have to use water to cool this stuff. Your refrigerator doesn't use water. It uses Freon, and we can do the same thing with these computers. So what we need to work for, in my opinion, is that we need to make sure that if they put these damn data centers in there, that they are green, that they use solar energy, and that they use Freon for cooling, and they don't tax our water.
Yeah. Oh, let me. But one of the things that I do want to point out is that Raul, with the BCP, Raul Torres came out and said that he is not for this, and that is partly because Raul Torres is our AG, our Attorney General, and that's in part because we put some pressure on him. We started back last summer, and we started writing postcards, and we started calling, and I'm not sure. Well, actually, I am sure. I've seen how our involvement makes a difference. So he has done that. The other thing that he's done is he's just launched a lawsuit. Thank you for reminding me, Willie. He just launched a lawsuit in December against some oil and gas companies because there is this practice of buying stripper wells. Stripper wells are the ones that are just about depleted, and they kind of buy them and shuffle them around and then declare bankruptcy before they can be cleaned up, and then those costs get shifted to us taxpayers to clean up those wells. All right.
Right. So just to reiterate, we don't have laws, and there's no legislation coming around BCP Partners or Blackstone. Those are issues Indivisible Albuquerque and our C3 arm, the New Mexico Foundation for Civic Excellence, will be working on. We need your involvement for, and we'll be getting back with you with exact to-dos and QR codes and all the things that we do so well. So stay tuned for all of that. So there's no legislation around that we know of. It would be great to have some support from the Senate and the House on legislation ensuring that data centers have to rely on renewable energy and not use water. To Carl's point, there's ways to cool them that don't involve those two. We're not a state that can afford water use by, I mean, we need to drink it. That's what we need to do with our water, not use it for this. But the other thing I just wanted to mention is that there's a lot of companies coming to New Mexico for data centers. We got a lot of real estate. They see low cost. They see enough of a workforce to get them going and build them. They see mostly capitalistic benefit for themselves. Big giant data centers that do not rely on green energy and use no water are of nothing but a burden on the taxpayers of New Mexico and the people, and we need to be really tuned in to this. Follow our newsletters, read the paper, read up on data centers, read up on where AI is going. AI has to have these massive billion-dollar data centers or they can't work. AI can't work without it. AI can be a great thing as long as the data centers that make it work are done in a green way. So that's what I want to say on that.
Is there one more slide, Ty?
Yeah, there is. Woo! Okay, great. So, or at least one of the QR codes made it in. So, if you want to be part of the pop-ups, we got out there. Oh, this is an old one. Oh, all right. So, no, but don't use it. You can't use it. That's an old QR code. Sorry. I sent a new one. I don't know if you can find it or not. It's part of the shared thing. I updated it. So anyway, the pop-ups. We're going to have one tomorrow at 4 o'clock, and we're going to be messaging around January 6th. And the message is going to be January 6th will live in infamy, and the other side is January 6th equal treason. And so what we do is our pop-ups, we go out on the around the city, and we stay there for an hour. We have a lot of fun. We have music. We have these big signs from below, and most of them love it. Some of them don't. We get some interesting gestures, but so anyway, again, I guess it's one of those things that maybe just message to IABQ, and they can pass you on to me if you want to do that. Are there any questions about the pop-ups? Oh, okay. So tomorrow it's going to be at the Winrock Bridge at 4 o'clock. And it will be probably getting a little bit cool by that time, so make sure that you dress appropriately. How many people have done it before? Woohoo! Yeah. And I have to say that we got out there, so we had a 3-hour time frame. I put out the message on Saturday after we learned about Venezuela. Within 3 hours, we had 50 people on that bridge. So thank you all for coming out.
Anything else?
I'm so sorry. I got handed this. This looks like a really beautiful book. It's out there in the lobby for everyone to take one. And it is a book that is written and illustrated about Latina women, their biographies, for you all to take to the children in your lives. So they're out in the lobby for you, and they're really lovely. It's written by Nabe Reynoso and illustrated by Joan Leal. So they're really beautiful little books, and they're free for you to take one. Yes. Yeah, that's it. So this is what we did on Saturday, and then we did it again yesterday, and we had another 5 people come out. So I'm just like, it's so gratifying to have everybody there and to do this work together.
Want me to ask you one more time? Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Barbara said that there was a program that Democracy Now! Had on. It was Amy Goodman about AI, and it talked about all of the implications, probably social justice as well as environmental justice, on down the line about how AI affects us.
Yes, there's another question here on the right.
Yeah. Well, it's not a financial. Yeah, and I don't think that the governor, I mean, we couldn't get the Senate to support it last year. Yeah, and so what Ralph was talking about is, Ralph, use that QR code, and then I'll get you on there, because you just have to fill out best practices, and then I will get you onto the Signal chat. But oh, okay, sorry, but we'll get you on there. But he was talking about SLAP suits. These are suits that big industries put on individuals or organizations to shut them up. And they know that they're frivolous. They know that they will lose them, but they've got the money, they've got the lawyers, and they tie us up in court for any length of time, or they bankrupt us. And so it's a way, a kind of plan B of shutting down our free speech. And last year we had, it was Bill HB 169 or Senate Bill 169, I can't remember. And we had one that was going to ensure that we had free speech and would make those SLAP suits illegal. And we couldn't get Cervantes to give it a hearing. Cervantes he is the chair of the Senate Judiciary, and he likes being a gatekeeper.
Sandy, I have the microphone. If there are questions, I will bring it to the person in the audience. We have one right here.
Freon, bad idea. Okay, bad idea. I mean, as much as they want to put, if you can convince that Freon should be used. The other thing is that private equity. Elizabeth Warren just put out a video that says private equity bought Genesis Rest Homes here in Albuquerque. Okay, and I don't know. You guys run the machine, so maybe we need to talk about it with the state legislators. Okay, thank you.
Yes, and as a former geriatrician, I'm well aware of what the issues that Genesis and their private equity firm has done, and we'll be glad to talk about it at some future date. Anything else? All right. Thank you. And one more.
Democracy Now! Was mentioned. You probably know that KUNM tomorrow night is deciding whether they're going to move Democracy Now! To 10 in the morning rather than 4 in the afternoon. Yeah, that'll be on the board agenda tomorrow evening for KUNM. It's on their website, and so supposedly asking for public comment. And on the 26th is a legislative day that all of the immigrant rights groups have joined together to decide. The one thing that we're working on this year is stopping stopping the private prisons that Cervantes also stopped last year. So that's the 26th.
Okay, and Democracy Now! Is available online at democracynow.org if you want to, so you can watch it anytime. Are you going to talk about the Clear Horizons Act? Okay, well, the Clear Horizons Act, this is Mimi Stewart's bill that did not pass in the last session. And of course, we have the ETA, the Energy Transition Act, which ramps down emissions in the energy production sector, but it doesn't deal with transportation or manufacturing or farming or buildings or all these other sectors. So the Clear Horizons Act deals with all those sectors. So that is definitely going to be coming up this year, and that really should be a priority to get that passed this year while Michelle Lujan Grisham is still governor. I guess so. I'm confident that's going to be heard this year. That is everything I'm hearing, is that is going to be coming up this year. Yeah.
Which leads us into our next talk, which is about other legislative priorities that we know are going to occur. I have to make a confession, is I thought, the governor would want that people have plenty of time to review what her priorities were to make sure legislation got put in that she wanted. That shows my naivete, because she won't announce what till probably the day before the legislative session opens. So we will talk about a couple of bills, and thank you, Rich, for talking about the Clear Horizons. We can watch for that. It's not on the pre-files yet. There are a few bills on pre-files. But I do know of a couple bills, and that Rayon may talk about a bill or two, but that I know are going to be on the call, and they're kind of interesting bills. There's a bill that's on the mayor's call, and Representative Lori has written the bill, having to do with human trafficking. You would think human trafficking is a non-controversial subject, and that but the law for New Mexico is quite lenient and loose, and we're unable to prosecute human traffickers really in the state because the law doesn't really, it has too many loopholes. This bill was proposed last year and did not pass out of House Judiciary. Yeah, no, it's the kind of thing, what do you mean it didn't pass out of House Judiciary? I mean, again, who's for human trafficking? I vote for it. So, and it has to do with, was mentioned earlier today, I think, that some people are concerned with the laws being too strict and don't want to make laws more restrictive and actually have a chance to punish people. So this is a bill that's going to come up, and as I said, we need to make sure that our representatives know when this bill comes up, hasn't been pre-filed yet, that this is a bill that should be passed. We should be able to prosecute human traffickers and not rely on the federal government to do it because our state laws are too restrictive. For example, one of the changes which the law proposes is right now, people under the age, anyone over the age of 16 is considered in human trafficking terms an adult. Yeah, no, that's what the law says. So that consequently, people who are over 16 who are being trafficked are considered an adult, and therefore the penalties for having people over 16 but under 18 is less severe. So one of the changes of the law is to make sure anyone under the age of 18 is considered a minor and therefore has more severe penalties for being trafficked. This is one of the changes that the law plans to make. And again, it was one of the things that kind of makes sense. And it's one of those things which I was startled to hear, and I suspect most of you are startled to hear, that this is an issue in this state and we need to do something to fix it. So the second bill, which is another kind of hidden issue, which is important to consider, which will probably be proposed as a memorial, has to do with manufactured housing. Now, manufactured housing is a formal term for trailers, okay, and has to do with trailer parks. And what's happening with trailer parks in this city and the state, speaking of our good friends private equity, is they are buying up trailer parks. And what they can do with that is then increase the rent significantly, very quickly, on homeowners who own their trailer park but don't own the rental space. So then what happens is just like we're talking about water, they don't have the money to pay the park for rental spaces in where their home sits, which they may have had for 15 years sitting there. And they don't, it costs $10,000 to move a trailer home to another park. So they don't have, so they're stuck. And it's, again, with the issues with homelessness we're having in this state, and nationally, as a matter of fact, there needs to be some kind of regulation on how trailer parks are run. The other thing is the owners, when they buy it, don't do anything to do upkeep, such as making sure utilities work, make sure the water runs, make sure electricity runs, etc. So the memorial will have to do with start looking at state regulations for trailer parks, having to do with what the requirements for the owners of trailer parks have to do, hopefully giving trailer park residents the right of first refusal. If someone wants to buy their trailer park, they have the right to first refusal, and setting up some sort of bond issue so they can afford to do that. To be honest with you, that's beyond my level of knowledge, but actually the state is working. You may understand it better than I do. But it gives people who live in trailer parks, and it turns out, the representative was talking to me, there's certain city councilors who are very dismissive of people who live in trailer parks, and is very derogatory towards their living there and kind of saying, well, why should we care? And that's really distressing. So those are two issues which are kind of below the radar, which we will be following among others. And Ray Ellen, do you have?
I do. I just want to focus on the trailer park thing for a minute. I think most of you that know me well know that I grew up in a trailer park at the end of Campbell Road in Albuquerque, New Mexico, in the North Valley. Our trailer was 10 foot wide by 56 feet long, and we hauled it everywhere. We went all over New Mexico, all over Texas, and all over northern Arizona. I'm a trailer park kid. I was raised with trailer park kids, and this really is something personal to me. So I'll just leave that there. I'm looking at the list of House pre-filed as of right now. I'm online looking at it. It looks like House Bill 22 by Christine Chandler is going to talk, and I think I got this one out, but it's about, it's called Distribution of Sensitive and Deep Fake Images, and it's about copying an image, doing AI to it, and making it look like somebody's doing something they're not, especially without their permission, and publishing it. And there's criminal penalties for that if that bill passes. That's a great idea. There's a bill introduced by Kathleen Cates, juvenile firearm use and background checks. I haven't read that bill, but that might be worth following. Another one by Representative Kathleen Cates, prohibiting book banning at public libraries. That sounds fantastic. Christine Chandler has another one, the Artificial Intelligence Transparency Act. And this is if a company registered as a business in New Mexico, that gives me a little pause, but if a company is using artificial intelligence to like scan an application you have for housing rental or a job or something like that, if they're using artificial intelligence to scan that and make a decision that you should be rejected, then that artificial intelligence agent has to be disclosed to you, and you have a right to counter that and file a suit against that decision that might be made against you, because artificial intelligence is, I don't know, artificial? May be wrong. So Christine Chandler's introducing that. There are, and we'll come back to the medical compact, but I see several compact bills here. I don't know if they'll make it to the call or not. EMS personnel licensure, interstate compact. Counseling licensure, interstate compact. Psychology, interjurisdictional compact. Some school nurse provisions. And that's all I see here in the House that we might, and studying the CYFD as an independent department as a memorial that Senator Ortiz-Pino talked about here a couple weeks ago. You want to talk about the medical compact?
Yeah, so it appears as if, as some of you may remember, Katie Duhigg came and spoke to us the end of November, first part of December, about her working to get the medical compact passed. And she presented a reasonably optimistic picture of that. Later on, it turns out she presented a less optimistic picture to a meeting that they were having and negotiating it, and it looked like it was going to blow up. Those of you who get the hello, there we go. She wrote an op-ed 2 weeks ago which said they are going to pass, that they came to an agreement on all the issues which bothered her and others about the medical compact. So it appears as if that is going to pass. And that will be on the governor's call, which is great news. The other compacts may or may not be on the governor's call, but it seems to me that the compacts have great similarities among them, just different professions. And since we have a template now for the medical compact, seems to me we can use that same template to pass the other compacts. Peter Worth had said we're only going to pass the medical compact and social work compact. The social work compact is not really a compact yet because it hasn't been endorsed by enough states. So it's not really considered a compact yet. So we will need to watch and see if the governor's call calls for the other compacts, and if so, we'll need to work on getting those passed on through, and that's another effort will be coming up when we keep you in touch of Legislative Sandy.
So I'm just wondering, do we know what's in the compact? I have trust issues. And are there poison pills, or will this really work?
My understanding is this is an agreement with the compact commissions itself and the state, so that the compact commissions themselves have agreed, the state and the compact have agreed all these changes work for both sides. Okay, so that's, who knows what's going to change in the next 2 weeks, but it's my understanding now, and from Katie's conversation and other conversations, yeah. So it's an agreement that both sides have agreed to and will work, as opposed to last year, which was 30 poison pills. So the other issue having to do with what else are we going to do for physicians, there are other bills that are being proposed, malpractice reform, the GRT exemption, increased loan forgiveness. Whether those on the governor's call, I do not know.
As a matter of fact, we don't know anything about the governor's call at this point. Yeah, although Senator Pope did say, just 1 second, Linda, although Senator Pope did say he had a couple bills he knew were going to be germane, which is lingo for on the governor's call. Linda, you had a question? Darcy can bring you the mic.
Just one comment is there's a difference between bills and memorials. The bills, memorials, and constitutional amendments do not need to be on the governor's call. So they can. So, for example, Senator Pope mentioned about the Green Amendment. That does not need to be on the governor's call. This is a constitutional amendment, and memorials do not need to be on the governor's call.
Okay, that was my question, because we did not mention the fact that Senator Pope is helping to introduce reintroduce again the New Mexico Green Amendment. It does not have to go to the governor's call, but it will be in the legislature. It's being brought up in the House by Representative Ferrari again, and so we are making a serious effort again in 30 days to pass the Green Amendment.
Thank you, Linda. That's something Indivisible Albuquerque's been working on for, what now, 7 years? 7 years. Okay. How many of you have been with us and know how our following legislature process works? I know a number of you have helped us over the years. Just so you know, we mobilize teams on a real fast basis through texts and emails around certain bills that might need phone calls or text messages or emails to legislators to get them passed. We've had teams in the past with team leaders following a certain number of bills. They monitor the hearings in all the committees, and then they get the word out to us if we need to do something really quick. So there will be an email going out this week asking you about your interest in participation on our committees. So remember, we have operational committees and we have issue-based committees, and the issue-based committees will be following certain legislative bills, mainly the ones we've been talking about. And if you're interested in helping monitor these bills, watching the webcasts, maybe going to Santa Fe, talking to legislators, we'll ask for your time and your energy to help us monitor those things to make sure that we get great bills passed and that some of the really stupid bills don't pass. Okay, we have 9 minutes. Do all of you know how to track bills through the nmlegis.gov website? How many of you do not know and would like a quick demonstration? All right. Ty, could you go back to the slides? Yeah. Okay, go back to the slide with the speakers tonight, because I put a link there. Well, one more. That preview, click that link. Where it says legislative preview. Or you can go to nm.legis.gov. nmlegis.gov. Yep. Okay. This, make this ingrained in your memory, nmlegis.gov. If you go to the legislation tab up there, it's fourth from the left, you can find legislation by number, find it by the sponsor, the keyword, or the subject. The thing I like is called the bill finder. You can find, there's like a whole list of ways you can find a particular bill you may be interested in. And the other thing I like to do is go back up to legislation, go down to where it says My Roundhouse. Okay, so here you sign up and you register, and then you can pick the bills you want, go back to this page, not have to filter through the 9,000 other bills that you're not interested in, and you're gonna pick the bills you want, put them on this tab, and then you can follow the 5 to 10, or in my case 40, bills that you want to follow on a regular basis. So My Roundhouse is really useful. The other thing that you can do is if you go over to the webcast tab, over there, it's 3 or 4 more over from where, let's see. You see that? Yep, webcast. Not opening because there aren't any now because the session's not in. But every session has, every committee session and the House sessions and the Senate floor sessions, those are all webcast to the public. So you can watch every single thing right here from this webcast tab, and it will tell you what they're filming right that minute on that tab when it's operational. It's not operational because there's nothing going on.
And if you sign up before two things, they're taped, so if you don't want to watch the whole thing live, you can watch it afterwards. And you also can testify on the webcast. If you sign up beforehand, you can go test. Yeah, so you can testify at the webcast from your comfort of your own home if you would like.
Yes, that's a very useful thing. I think the majority of my day during the session is spent not driving to Santa Fe, just watching them online. And that's kind of what they look like. So you would just click on it, and when this one's empty, but this is what they look like, and you would be able to watch an actual session. Sometimes the sound isn't real great for people giving public comment at the back of the room, but you'll always be able to see the interactions of the senators or House reps on the committee, and the main people giving testimony will be sitting over here at this table. The experts and the sponsor of the bills will be sitting over here at this table and talking about the bill. It's kind of fun to watch what the members of the committee do. Sometimes they walk out the door right before the vote is taken because they don't want their name associated with the vote. Sometimes they go out and have a meeting and come back in and completely change their mind from what they said 5 minutes ago. Yeah, we've seen that. It's fun to watch just for the shenanigans sometimes. It's quite entertaining. But all of it is open to the public, and you're able to watch from wherever you want.
They also play on their phones a lot.
What's that? Yeah. That's because they're reading our text to them. So it's important. Two things. It really, you hear over and over again that what you need to do is text your senator or your rep, and you need to tell them, I am your constituent and I want you to do ABC. They pay more attention to that than if you just randomly write a senator or a rep. So please know and establish a relationship with your senator. Oh, come on, there we go. Secondly, the thing is, I'm impressed by, if you look at the number of bills that these people listen to, they have now they have a little staff. Before they had no staff. And how they possibly knew what was in each of the bills was astounding to me. And why we need to have a paid legislature so they can actually spend time to study the bills and understand and not be totally reliant on lobbyists.
Okay, we have time for a couple quick questions. If you have questions about legislative session, we can try to answer. We will absolutely be back with more info on the bills, exact bills we want to follow, when the hearings are, and all of that good things actually get scheduled. Any questions? Back to that QR. Can you get back to the Sandy's QR code? That's why we do pop-ups all the time. What was that?
So if you want to get more information, I've passed out a flyer, and there's a card you can sign and leave it in the basket. I'll put the postage. Thank you so much.
And we have a speaker next week coming to speak about that in depth. So this is a pre-work before our speaker next week. Thank you, Barbara. Okay, well, Ralph. Yeah. Impeach War-a-Lago. I love it. Oh, my gosh. So grateful for all of you for coming tonight. You can see that we do a lot of things. We hope you'll get involved. We'll be back in touch, and we will see you next week. Thank you. Everybody fired up? Ready to go? See you next week. Thank you so much.